Hey, just want to welcome everybody to the night's question and answer for SpankOdds. I'm here with Spanky. He's the mastermind behind this whole program, and he's going to be guiding us through the whole thing. I'm here with Spanky. He's the mastermind behind this whole. Getting a little bit of feedback. I got it covered now. Can you hear me okay, Spanky?
Yes, sir.
Okay. One of the first things I think we want to do, one of the most important things I get in support is going through what sports books that we offer currently. Can you pull that up on your screen?
Yes. Yeah. So what I want to do today is I'll start with this. Is what we're going to do is we're going to go over every single facet of SpankOdds, the program, all the different features, and um, and then try to explain what's happening, why it's happening, what are we doing, what's missing, how can we get better. So I'm going to just talk, and I'm just going to freely talk about the different features, things I like, things I want to improve, et cetera, et cetera. So, as Scott said, we're going to start with the columns thing. We're going to start with columns bookies. So these are all the different types of different columns that you can have on SpankOdds, and you can essentially pick any column. And I should probably shut my sounds off. Did that halftime message come into you, Scott, or no?
Yes, it did.
Okay, so we could keep them in. Doesn't matter. So we'll go over these buttons first. You can just start off these things when a game goes to halftime. We have alerts for that, and we'll get into that a little later. But let's talk about let's just say I wanted to add uh, Hard Rock AC over here, and I would just add it, um, and then you would just save, and you would then be able to scroll over, and there's Hard Rock AC. Just going over the way things work is you would add you these are all the options, and then these are all the selected, available and selected. There's a fixed column divider. What is the fixed column divider? The fixed column divider is essentially when you scroll left and right, the fixed column divider is right here before the best column. So everything after best, when you scroll right to left or left to right, that left part of the column is frozen. And that's something that you can alter in any way you would like. So I have notes, details, time, game number, team, the opener at S411, and then the best column. Now there's other things that you can add, and we'll go forward and talk about the different things you can add and subtract or whatever. But let's talk about all the sports books that are available. We'll start with the ones on my selected, and then we'll go to the available. Now, some of these we've gotten so big that I might not remember where all these are from, but for the most part, I think I know most of them because we're getting requests to add feeds to SpankOdds all the time. So notes we're going to talk about a little later when I talk about the notes feature. Mm. Details. This is your details column. Details column is an important column because details essentially tells you when you just point at the info exactly what your injuries are, your current injuries are, or your current lineups for that game. So if I go to basketball and I'm pointing, let's just say at the details column here, I'll have the injury list, and then below, if the lineup is expected, confirmed, or unknown, we'll have the lineup um, for each team. The details column changes once the game starts to a score column, essentially, and it also changes when a game goes to halftime, gives you a countdown on how many minutes are left in the halftime. So this game, for instance, is at half, Wizards and Pacers, and we have the score here, and then it just counts down, and then it will count down all the way to zero, and then it will start counting up, and we call that into the X factor, meaning if the game yet has started, but it's past, it's delayed somehow. So be careful if you want to get down in a halftime. The game could come off the board any second, and then the bookmaker will, the game will, the third quarter will start. So you got to be careful with that. If I scroll down, I see these games are all in progress, and these are all different, all live scores. This Houston Rockets game, Orlando Magic, as you can see, 3 seconds left. That's about to go into the half. Boston, New York, 19 seconds will go into the half. Once the game goes final, a different section will appear, and then that'll show you final. So that's kind of exactly what the details column does. Let's go back. Time. So the time essentially gives you the date and time. Pretty self-explanatory. Game number. So the game number is essentially the rotation number, the Las Vegas rotation number used by every game. And we have different game numbers for in the basketball. They're in a different range, usually the 500 to 800 level. Baseball, which is just a World Series game here now, is in the 900s. Football again goes from the 100s to the 400 level. Hockey is always below 100, so you have 35 through 99 essentially. And then all these other ones, these are the funky ones, fighting, soccer. We have all these six, usually 5 or 6 digit game numbers, so on and so forth. Also, we're going to be taking questions while I'm doing this. So if somebody has a question, I kind of want to leave it open for each section. If somebody wants to ask a question, I can't see questions, Scott. So if somebody does have one, uh, let me know, and then you could just, because I can't see the questions as they're coming in.
I'll let you know.
Perfect. Opener. Okay, an opener. So we have the ability. Sometimes it's a good idea. Let's go to basketball. Um, it's always, I like to look at the opener um, uh, for there's so many different reasons why I like to look at the opener, but I like to have an opener column from a Sharp Sportsbook. Here I have S411. You can add the opener column for whatever sportsbook you want. The way you do so is you have all these sportsbooks here, and then you could click on this checkbox, say Show Bookie Opener. So if I say Show Bookie Opener, now all of a sudden I have the openers for every single sports book. Now let's just say I also want to look at Circa's opener. Now I want to put it, let's just say, right next to the Sports 411 opener. I can either double click here or I click Add here. So now I click Save, and now I also have the Circa opener with the S411 opener. If you like to have multiple openers, that's up to you. That's your call. But an opener column usually, because as I see lines moving all the time, I like to find out where it started. Did a line go too far? So just looking at an example here, this line opened 3, and now this line opened 1, and now it's 3. So I'm, sometimes if I'm looking at things, I want to know that something move a considerable amount. And then you could just do the analysis yourself. But I think it's important, at least for me, and again, this is how I would use my SpankOdds, and I'm telling you what I would do. Everybody's different, so if you use it in a different way, that's up to you. But I'm just telling you what I would do. Let's get back to the bookies here. So we have the opener. Best column we're going to talk about a little later, and we already talked about the fixed column divider. So now let's talk about it. S411, Sports 411, a lot of people know that as Chris. Penny, that's Pinnacle. Low Vig, that's Low Vig. It's an offshore sportsbook. Circa Las Vegas, okay, that's the Circa Las Vegas. DraftKings, Caesars, New Jersey, and we put Caesars, New Jersey, but usually we have also here a Caesars, Michigan. We try to get as many different feeds from different locations as possible, because some of these laws, when you're looking at it, if you're getting Jersey, you can't bet a college football team in Jersey. So if Rutgers is playing, Caesars, New Jersey might not have a Rutgers lineup. So we try to get at least 1 or 2 different sources. Now, if we have Caesars, Michigan, and Caesars, New Jersey, I don't know what the Michigan law is, but if Michigan's playing New Jersey, then you're shit out of luck. We probably then send us a message to support, and we'll try to add a third Caesars in. We usually have 2 or 3 for places like FanDuel here. We have FanDuel, PA, Indiana, and Michigan, and we just try to play around with different things. What we feel is the fastest feed. Bet Online, of course, an offshore sportsbook is FanDuel. We just talked about Hard Rock, Atlantic City, South Point. Now, sometimes you'll see an underscore new. Just ignore the underscore new. That's when my development team is testing different ways to obtain feeds. And if they just forget to remove the underscore new, because usually we keep it as the regular and the new. And sometimes we just don't go back and take out the underscore new because there's 100 other things going on. So just completely, if you see underscore new, know that's usually the latest and greatest. Bet Buckeye, another offshore sportsbook. Superbook Colorado. Now that's different than Superbook Las Vegas, which should be somewhere. There's Superbook Las Vegas. And again, all different ways. Sometimes they'll have different lines, sometimes not. Jazz CD Sports. CD Sports is Bet Easy, also known as I'm just remembering some of the websites. Sheba, another very sharp offshore sportsbook. Paperhead, that's PPH. A lot of people know them as One Bet Vegas or One Better. Heritage, of course, Heritage Sports, another offshore sportsbook. Wager per head, that's usually the metallic or uncle skins. Bet est, and if you don't know what these means, sometimes I know somebody created a forum. In one of the forums, I think it was one. I think there might have been a Raslack. They share kind of what the mappings are and what website each one is. And I might actually have the person that created that. Maybe we'll share that with anybody that asks. Bet STS, another offshore sports bookstore. U.S. bookmaking. Play MGM. Ace PPH, which is Ace or Ace23.ag. Atlantis Baldini's. Baldini's, I believe, is in Reno, and I think so is Atlantis. Is that correct, Scott?
That is correct. They're very
That's
good
right.
books.
These are Reno shops. DSBP and DSBS, so that's Diamond Sports. And they're giving us a public line and a sharp line. That's what they wanted to show, so we show them both. Just Bet is the same thing as Tradewinds. We already talked super. IA Sports, which is Easy Play 2001. Barstool, of course. Barstool is kind of what we use essentially for our Camby. We're getting a direct feed from those guys. So soon we'll have another feed to display. But for now, we just call it Barstool. I think once you have one Camby feed, you have them all. Bet War, another very sharp offshore sportsbook. UWager, otherwise known as Wager 7. And for those in the old school realm, First Fidelity. Sunday Bets, very, very sharp sportsbook offshore. So those are the ones I have listed. And again, this is a default profile. Don't think that the ones that are in the selected, or you shouldn't just look at those and not look at the ones in the available. No, let's take a look at it. Chart consensus and details too. We're going to talk about a little later because there's stars next to them and those are like information columns. Chart I'm going to talk about later. Consensus. Consensus. I'm going to talk about later. Details too. Let me just show you kind of what that is. Details too is kind of an experimental score that we're doing. So if I go to basketball, usually it's blank. But sometimes if we have different feeds that we want to test and find out which one is faster, we put it into the details too column. But we're doing all that stuff now in the back end, so that's kind of like a legacy column that we're not really using as much. So I'd kind of not really use that, or maybe if you want a second score opinion, sometimes the details too will have a different score, particularly in baseball. I'm not sure other sports, but take a look at that if you want to just get another score. But most likely, what we're going to do is we're going to have the details be a consolidation of several different scores. Now, notice how when I go to columns bookies, I could remove a sports book this way. So I could remove details too, and I just say remove, and I click save, and then all of a sudden it's gone. You could also remove it by just saying right click and delete column. I don't know if that's enabled for the fixed columns. It's definitely enabled for the sportsbooks column. So the fixed columns, we kind of want you to go into columns bookies, but for these, you would go ahead and delete them that way with just a right click. A lot of it's self-explanatory, but I just want to be very clear as we're going through. Okay, 3ET, another very sharp sports books. Forecaster, that's an exchange that's there that we've added. That we've just some people have complained that the Vigorish is not attached. We're attaching Vig to that line, and I think that should be done in the next day or two. Five Dimes, of course, famous offshore sports book. 5PPH. That's another, $5 per paper head. I don't know what the website is. 5PPH. There's other different skins, so I'm not really sure. Allegre, another offshore. Bet Croc, guys out of Louisiana. That's why it's called Bet Crocodile, another offshore shop. Bet Fred, that's another. That's a domestic shop and out of Europe. Bet Horizon new. Um, so Bet Horizon. Do we have a Bet Horizon here? No, we don't. Okay, so that's another one. Bet
Spanky,
OSB. Yeah.
Spanky, let me jump in for just a second. That one just got upgraded today. That Brett Horizon did.
Okay.
But I got a couple of my friends here that have questions. My friend
Sure.
Jacob wanted to know: is there any PPHs right there on your list that you're looking at that are particular the best ones to monitor to help you predict where the market is going?
Okay, so this is great question, and honestly, this is one of those touch and feels type thing because, I could give you a bunch of PPHs, and usually whatever the default, was is what we had selected as a good start. But that's not that there's different shops, so what might be good today might not be good tomorrow, and they're all different depending on the sport. So I can never, say, listen, just follow this, this, and this, and you're going to be, this is the key. This is where the treasure is. It really doesn't work that way. You got to figure out on your own. You could go ahead and add all the columns and just look and see who's moving first. You might know something that I don't. You know what I mean? I don't have all the answers when it comes to this stuff because it's always changing. And any sharp syndicate that's trying to bet a game and bet a game heavily and try to keep it quiet, they're going to do what they need to do to make it so that it's quiet. So that they might what a shop that they bet first yesterday might not be the shop that they bet first today. So that's probably the best advice I could give for that. Sorry if there's
Okay.
camera issues, but that's just how it is.
I understand. My other buddy Pitsky here has a question for you too, and this would be a good time to talk about adding sports books. He wants to know if you're going to add any of the Ontario feeds, and this would be a good time for you to explain how people can help us get books added, since we have so much problems when we try to contact them directly and get them added.
Yeah, listen, if enough, the way you do it is you reach out to the sportsbook and say, listen, put your odds on SpankOdds, and you'll generate business that way. We put anybody on as long as they pay their customers. So for the regulated joints, we're never going to say no. And you just got to reach out to us. Either you can reach out to me directly, Spanky have the sportsbook reach out to me directly, Spanky at SpankOdds.com. You can reach out to Scott, support at SpankOdds.com. And just have the sportsbook reach out to us. Give them that email, and we'll work with them. We could cover any which way they want to send us the feed. We'll work with them. My developers are ready, willing, and able to process whatever requests are out there. Me not being in the Canadian market, I don't know what the good ones are and what the bad ones are, but we will definitely accommodate any requests as long as the sports book is willing. And if the sports book is not willing, if it's good enough, we'll figure out a way. I mean, if we have to scrape the sports book, why not? We'd rather have go in the front door and have them send us their lines, but if we have to go back door, it won't be the first time that we had to resort to that. So
Okay, you can go back to normal. All the questions have been answered so far.
great. So Bet Phoenix, another offshore. Bet Rivers. I think that was that a Canby one, Scott. Maybe it is.
Yeah, Adam's saying it is.
Okay, so there's another one. I don't know if that matches. Bet Us, that's offshore. Bovada offshore. Catalina offshore. Cirque, I think that might have been Circuit Colorado, which now I think matches Circuit Las Vegas, if I'm not mistaken. So we had that. I guess that's like a legacy thing. Crypto Sports, another offshore sports book. Easy Street. Easy Street is also known as Fast Wager Live. We talked about the two FanDuels. MGM Vegas. MGM Vegas, we've been having a problem. It's a good feed, but we have a problem with them when they send us. They send us first quarter lines as first half lines, and that's something that we've been working with the back end provider to stop that, but it's hard to fix that. So that's an ongoing issue. But MGM Vegas, that applies to MGM Vegas. I think we also have Play MGM. Yeah, we have MGM, which is non-Vegas. Matchbook Monarch Blackhawk. Where's that? Colorado, I think.
Yeah, that's Colorado.
Colorado. Per head, which is same thing as Yo Pig, Bet Eagle. The four pinnacle alternate lines. So these are pinnacle lines, but it's essentially pinnacle lines where you plus or minus a half a point and a point each way. So as pinnacle moves, you could also see what their alternate lines are. Play CR, another offshore sports book. Points Bet, which I don't think is currently working right now because I think they just merged with somebody. I forget who. Fanatics, maybe? No, I don't know. Somebody. Boris. Okay. I don't know who it was, but maybe. Okay. I can actually see this chat now. Barstool's not camping anymore, so correct. I'm corrected on that. Barstool's not camping, so I guess it's its own. It's its own thing. Points Bet, I'm not sure that's even working. Profit Exchange, yes, good. SX Bet, that's something we're working on now. I'm not sure if it's developed yet. That's out of Canada. Sport Trade, another exchange um, that we have, and I can actually add those two because they're a little bit different. So on these two, let's add them right next to Heritage. I want to talk about that when we talk about limits. Typico, that's out of I know they're out of Jersey and other places. VX, sharp offshore joint. Um, Wager DM, another sharp offshore joint. WinBet and Win Colorado. WinBet, I think, is the Vegas one. Win Colorado, I think, is the non-Vegas. Not sure how reliable those are right now. I think we've had some issues. Have we, Scott? I'm not sure.
WinBet is not Vegas. Not
WinBet is
Vegas.
not Vegas.
Not Vegas.
Okay.
We do not have the Vegas book.
Okay, we don't have them. Okay, so we don't have anything there. And then Win. Okay, so there you go. And that's pretty much it. And we're adding different lines all the time. So just check back and look at this list. And it's always changing. I hope I kind of answered. Again, I don't know all the websites. So you got to just work on your own. Before we exit the screen, another thing a lot of people like to use. Remember how I said show bookie opener? What you could also do is you could show first halves. So what you could do is this: is let's just say I want to know, and you could also show money line. So let's just say I go right here and I want to show the first half of a game. First half. And I want to show the money line of the game, but I don't want to have to change screens by showing that. So if I do that right there, boom, and I click save. So now if you notice, I'm over here. I see in the football game, I see the first half and the money line on the game in the same screen as the full game. A lot of people like to be able to do that, to have it on one screen. In order to see the first halves for everything, you would just use this top menu here and you go to first half. So obviously notice that this is the first half. They're matching. And if you want to go to money line, we have default view, and we're going to go over this just a minute. But if I want to just look at the money line here, you notice that that the money line. Okay, this is weird. This is great. So I didn't even know I programmed this, so I just realized it. So what happens is when you go to money line, the money line view actually switches to the spread. Yes, that's right. And then the money line actually is displayed correctly. This is for baseball because when somebody's looking at a baseball screen, if they want to look at the run line, they'll see the run lines here in a separate column and the money lines. So that was a little surprise Easter egg that I forgot I coded. That actually that's a factor. And that's those are those two. So let's just delete those and move on here. Okay, this is just a prompt here. Delete that, and we'll delete that. Okay. Also, so before we go on to the next display settings, chart setup, consensus, we're going to go over everything. This is going to take a while. So sit back, relax, enjoy yourself. This is going to be a while. We're going to try to have a good time doing this. So bear with me here, and hopefully, this could be the definitive go-to video for SpankOdds. Let's talk about the overall screen before we go into these menu items. When you look at the screen of SpankOdds, you have the different sports here, and we kind of went over all those sports. And then we have today, which is just all of today's games, and that's kind of a big mess. I never use this, but we just have it there for completeness because it has every single sport for all that happened today. And then you have custom tabs here that we're gonna talk about when we set those custom tabs up. But if we go back to football, default view, sides and totals. So we could set what the default view is over here. So if I go to columns display settings, this will bring our first thing. This section right here that I'm pointing at called default view. I could set what the default view is. So for football, I want it side and totals. For basketball, I want it sides and totals. However, for baseball, the default view, I want it totals and money line. Because the money line for a baseball game is usually the standard. When you're betting a baseball game, the run line is usually the optional. It's the secondary market, whereas the run line is the secondary market, the money line is a primary market. And that's the opposite for football and basketball. And then you could set this in any way you want. So these are just what we believe the standards are, but you could make it. So football, if I have default view, let's just say football, I only want to make default just money lines. I'm going to click save here. So now, okay, that didn't save really. Okay, hold on. Display settings. All right, so we have this is one of the best things about this, and I want to talk about this because the whole system is always going to have bugs in it, and this is we're still trying to. And I just found one right now. And if you see bugs, help us with this. Report these bugs because not everybody uses every one of these little things, and we want to make sure that we solve all these bugs accordingly, so that we can nip them in the bud and make sure that they don't come back. So I just tried to make football just money line as default view, and it should have just showed money lines, which it didn't. So that I just noticed as a bug. Let's just try to see if I say totals in money line. I wonder if that will work. Okay, so for football, it's not. Okay, so that's interesting. We'll have to look at that. Have you noticed that, Scott, at all with what the default view is?
No, I set the default up different than that.
Gotcha. But your defaults work.
Mine work perfectly. Yeah.
Okay. What I want to do is I just want to simply, and I'm going ahead of myself, but I have to just see if this is a regular tab or a custom tab bug. So I'm going to just add the college football games for today. And then this is the default view. And if I just say columns display setting, if I make it totals and money line, okay. So, yeah, this is supposed to, so it's showing totals and spread. So we're going to have to look into that. But that's, yeah, that was something that was been working for a long time, and it just seemed not to work. So let me just add a few more games just to make sure that, yeah. Okay. All right. So perfect. So we have our first bug of many that we'll probably encounter here. But anyway, the idea is to be able to have this and set it up on what you want to see, whether it be sides and totals on money line, sides and totals, totals in both money line, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then you could do that per sport. So football, basketball, baseball, hockey, fighting, soccer, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So let's just we'll make that like that. And okay. All right. Moving on. So if you want to now look at first, so these are all the different views. If you want to look at sides, you'll look at sides. If you want to look at sides and totals, look at sides and totals. Totals and money lines, there it is. So these obviously are working. Totals and money line or totals in both money line. So let's look at the difference here. Totals and money line is I'm just going to see one money line and I'm going to see a total. If I say totals in both money line, I'm going to see the comeback right away. And that's pretty important. In this day and age, money lines are never standard. So over here, the Buffalo Bills will be minus 468. Tampa will be plus 363. Totals 43 flat. And then you just, you'd go on and that's how you'll be able to see it. So when I'm looking at money lines, I usually never just see one money line. I see both money lines. You, of course, have just sides, just totals, just money line. We have your away team totals. Pinnacle hangs those up, and we have your home team totals. Now, why would we want to change the default view? The only reason why we'd want to do it, because you could always change it here, is when you make a custom tab and when you combine sports. So I just call this MLB, but I'm putting everything in there. If I combine sports, let's just say, Um, let's just say I want to put in this thing, some baseball or some Mexican or whatever. It'll then know exactly what to display based on your default view. So I'll know that my default view for football is spreads and totals. I'll know that my default view for baseball is money line and totals. So that's why the default view needs to be set in this section. Of course, this thing we found out is not working, which we'll definitely adjust accordingly. So that's a default view. Now, full game again. You could look at first half. You could look at second half, and that's the halftime. This is this halftime, so the second half is just going to display that. First quarter, second quarter, or period if it's hockey, third quarter, and fourth quarter. Now, a lot of these things, Pinnacle has all these up now. A lot of these things don't get filled in until we get closer to game day, which is, for this is games going on, but for future games, it's probably day of or the day before usually. When it comes to football, let me see for fourth quarter. Yeah, we don't have college football. We don't have the quarters up. Let's go scroll down to the NFL. Fourth quarter, yeah, we got Jazz hanging some stuff up. Ace, not many hanging the quarters up this early in the week. Okay, I think that went. Now let's go over all these buttons, and then we'll go over the menus. Clear. So when something changes on Spank, any questions first, Scott, before I move on, or how are we doing here?
No, it looks like there's no questions currently.
Okay, good. And Scott, you feel free to ask me any questions that you feel that we're missing here. I made the font a little bit big so that everybody could see. I hope that's good enough that people could see what's happening here. Okay, clear. What happens now? I have my display settings is color line moves. So whenever a line moves, I make the color this color red. And then after, and I could set this, I can make it whatever color I want. After 30 seconds, I use color black. And then finally, after 5 seconds, I have the same color black, so it just stays black. Now, I could make it so that, let's just say, and I'll bring this over here. Do you see this color palette that popped up or no?
No, we cannot see the palette.
Okay, because that opened up in a new window, so that's not good. Okay, well,
That's based on the sharing and the program we're using. That's nothing. There's nothing you can do about it. You have to share the whole window. We
gotcha.
must have made an error. But the one thing I want to say about this screen is this screen drives me crazy having it black or a gray and white. I know you don't see colors difference, but I do, and I have to make the change to the alternating color and change it to yellow because
Gotcha.
that I can't look at that gray and white.
Gotcha. So you'll see it when I save it. So I just saved it now, and then you'll be able to look at this. So display settings. Now after 30 seconds, this will turn. I guess I'm colorblind, by the way. So I just look at color. I'm red green colorblind, so it's not like I can't see all colors. But so here, after 30 seconds, it'll turn this bluish thing, and then it will turn black. So this line, let's just say right here, these lines are just moving. If they don't move within the next 30 seconds, they'll go to blue and they'll go to black. And then this is fully customizable. You could make this whatever you want. There we go. Circle just went to blue over here, as you can see, and then it'll go to black. Notice these arrow icons. See these arrow icons? What is that? That's indicating of where the line moved, which direction. So if I click the last button here, notice how it went to it was 21. If I click last, it was 21 over a quarter. What is that? That means under 21 was plus +0.05. Now it's 21 flat. So that line's moving down because circle went from under 21 plus +0.05 to under 21 minus 110. So that indicates on which way that line just moved. Sometimes we have these line indicators, and you could turn those on and off in the columns display setting, which is right over here. Show line move direction icons. You could turn them on and off. Here, if I turn them off, then you won't see them anymore. To each his own. I like to have them on if I want to just see which way the line moved from, and to see just by looking at it to see which direction things are going. With a halftime, it's hard because halftime's line are going up and down, so it's hard to determine. But if I'm making a quick determination, and if I see, it's different sports books, 5 or 6 up or down arrows, then I'm gonna make a call and think, okay, wait a minute, this game is steaming up or down, instead of having to hit the last button and looking at where the line was, because usually that's what people might be used to doing, is clicking last and finding out where the line was, which is still a viable thing, but here you just click. You just look at the directional arrows. Clear. What is clear? Clear. You just clear all the moves. So now all the colors are cleared. Clear all would apply if you have multiple windows. Now you're gonna have to trust me on this. Window new. You probably don't see it, but a new window would open up that mimics the exact same window. So when you do clear all, that would clear all the windows, whereas the clear button here would just clear this existing window. We talked about last opener. If you want to see what the opening line was in all these games, you just click opener, and then that'll show you what the opening line was everywhere. And then notice how the S4-1 opener matches that column matches this column. Sorting. Currently, there's game number sort or time sort. There's an error on that. So that's something there we go. Write that one down, Scotty. Bug number 2. This is
Got it.
beautiful. We got it. This is time sort, game number sort. Okay. So maybe that just happened the one time. Interesting. So we'll look into that. But now, if I want to, right now we're in game number, what are we in? I can't even tell which is which. Recently we changed this. Okay, this is in time order. So if you notice, these are in time order right now, starting at the 12 noon games, and then going into the 1 o'clock games, 3:30 games. Game numbers are all out of whack. If you want to do game number sort, then you could look at games that are in game number order. Shrink team. So if you want to do a short team, kind of want to give yourself a little bit of more room to see more different sports books, you could have a shrink team, and then if you want to go long team, it'll just go long. Another important thing that happens with SpankOdds with the display settings is this columns automatically fit data. So this is checked off for convenience, but a lot of people don't like it. That's why it's an option. What does that do? Columns automatically fit data means that if the data doesn't fit in the column, it'll automatically adjust to squeeze it in tight. Now, some people want to say, listen, I like it. I don't care if it's getting chopped off. I don't care if it's getting chopped off. I want to make it so that it doesn't automatically fit the data, so that when I move this thing, it's not going to automatically fit. So you could just kind of squeeze it in as best you can, and then you guys could figure it out. And these were all going to be stored. Your column settings for each tab are stored accordingly. So now the column's not automatically fitting the data here. So I could kind of squeeze in, make a little bit more room, and squeeze a little bit more shops for more real estate.
Show them how to force a save of their settings while you're talking about it.
So to store your settings, you want to do a file store user prefs. Nothing. It looks like nothing happens, but that essentially lets our servers know that whatever your user preferences are, we're storing them for you. So next time you log in, and you could log in from any location, as long as you're using a password, we have your settings not stored locally on your machine. We have your settings stored on our server so that you can use SpankOdds on different machines, and it will look like the same way when you logged out and logged in on a different machine. So that's store user preferences. This is supposed to automatically happen when you go file exit. We've had some complaints that it might not. So I always, if I'm making a lot of changes, I always do a file store user preference just in case. And then if I'm going to log out, you could either X out or file exit. Adjust columns is just another thing to kind of widen things out if it's a little bit too tight. Chart we're going to talk about a little bit later. If you want to search a game, so like right now, let's just try to search UNLV. UNLV, you can click here. Okay, notice it scrolls down and it highlights the row in green. So if there's a lot of things you want to bet and you don't know what the game number is, you can always look use the search function here. Looking at the team names here, I'm noticing this Florida game is being played at a neutral location. Is that hurricane purposes, or I don't even know, or is that just happening normally? I don't know why that's happening, but um, Florida this week, if anybody wants to comment, we have it as a neutral location. So that's just all, and that'll show you with the N star if the game is played at a neutral location. Okay, last but not least here, we talked about shutting off your alerts and your pop-ups. You could just shut them off temporarily, or you could shut them off or put them on. This is going to give you all the alerts if games go into halftime, when they went into halftime. It'll give you different. Doncic got upgraded to probable earlier, 7:55. Um, Cavs, Darius Garland upgraded to probable, 6:50. So it gives you the timestamp of the latest injuries even after we logged out. From the different, for the major injuries of the day, it'll give you the last, I think, 24 hours of what the major injury flashes were. All right. Any questions? Let's take some questions. Give me a second because I've been rambling. Would love to be able to get some questions. And
I think right now we're okay with questions. This might be a good time to. I'll talk here for a minute about your tutorials. If you go to SpankOdds.com, you can click on the button at the very top that shows tutorials, and a lot of these functions, the tutorial is there. And there's another example inside the program where it has a video that you can watch about bookie management on this one. But SpankOdds.com, and you go to the tutorial section, has every single one of them. And I think that's a very valuable thing. And I point people to those a lot in support. And it looks like we got no other questions here. The one thing I would mention to you that did come up in chat was about adding those first half lines to the same as the full game lines, because that is going to mess up your best column.
Gotcha. That's a good point. Um, really? I don't think it will. Will it?
I think it will. I would love to be wrong on this, but I think it'll mess up the best column bad.
Okay, because I thought we ignored. We're going to find that out. But just to what you just said, Scott, this little icon here is all over the application. This will open up a video. You can't see it because it's not shared, but it will open up a YouTube video that'll describe all the different features, and that's all over the application. So if you ever want to look at something to get a 3-4 minute clip on what we're doing, check these things out. I made those a while ago, but they're still applicable till today. Let me put that first half thing, Scott, because you might be right, and I want to see if you are right or what.
I would love to be wrong. I do have a question here. It looks
Sure.
like Tim did not like my answer. He wants you to answer. He wants to know the amount of time per day you need to be on the program to get full utilization of it. My response was 14 hours. What is your number?
Oh no, that depends on the user, and I'm going to get into that. But that depends on what you're doing. If you're a top-down guy, you got to spend a lot more time than if you're a bottom-up guy. If you're a bottom-up sports handicapper, you don't have to spend nearly more than an hour or more than a half an hour. Just look at the best number, go bet the best numbers, and move on. Go about your day. If you're a top-down better, and if you want to, and you don't have a model working or whatever, you're gonna have to work a lot harder. So it all depends on what you do and what kind of user you are, and but just like in everything in life, like the more you put in, the more you get out. But some people, if you're a bottom up better building models, handicapping, most of the time, most of your time is not spent watching odds moves. Most of the time is refining your model to try to create a number that's better than what's out there. Whereas if you're a top down better, your life is odds moves, and your life is looking for the best numbers and trying to figure out where the value is. Just to your point, though, Scott, here, yeah, the first half column is ignored when it comes to the best column. So that's good news.
Okay, well, I guess when I tested it 2 years ago, I don't think that was true.
Yeah. So
So I haven't tested that in a long time. So, okay, I appreciate that.
no worries. Okay. Let's move on here now. So let's talk about all the display settings that you could do here. Border width, horizontal and vertical border width, just to show you how something like that would look. Let's just say I made both of these 5s, and then you could make the different colors. I don't really, let's say I made them all blue. You know what I mean? If that's your thing, there you go. Boom, boom, boom. That's not my thing, but everybody's it's fully customizable. So you do whatever you need to do, and I'm gonna just restore that to make it like that. But you could make a different different border color and weight on your borders. The default value very soon that'll start working again, but now you understand what exactly it does. Okay, move games. So what does this do now? Where are games moving? So games are moving in the SpankOdds application all the time. What we want to do is there's and remember how we were just earlier in the football when games went to halftime, the games kind of went up to the top. Or we could actually look at basketball. There might be games in half. Yeah. So these games are at half right now in basketball. So right now, if I wanted to say no, do not move these games into the halftime section. I don't want halftime games to move. So when I do that, then that's an in progress and which games were in halftime? 505, 11. So then they're not showing at all. So that means that you don't have a halftime section. Nope, wrong thing here. Display settings. But if you want to see them in a halftime section, then hold on. You'll see them in halftime. Sometimes you have to switch tabs to reset the views. Things get a little funky when you make a change. So it's always good to just switch a tab back on and off. In progress section. When I want to make things, this is an in progress. Let's say I don't want to show in progress. So now if I go on and off, notice how there is no in progress section, and then these games are just shown exactly where they are, even though they're in progress. I like having things move out of the way because once the game starts, these lines now to me are meaningless. I'm not looking at that. If you're betting in play, we're going to get into that in a second, but this is not applicable to in play. So that's different. So I like to have games move, and also, so I don't like to have in progress. Halftime, I like to have the games move up and down to halftime. So notice here now, I just went to do a reset. These games are at the half. This is an X factor, so this game is about to get out of the half, but there is no halftime header here. They're on top just because they're sorted by game number, but usually if you did this columns display settings and you wanted to make it so that you have that halftime header, then you can have that halftime header and you'll be able to see what's in the half, what hasn't started.
Can we switch gears here for just a second and you pull up like the live lines by pulling up the in play lines?
Okay. Okay. Notice how did you hear my can you hear my computer make noises? You heard started?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so this is a thing, and we're going to talk about this is a started alert. We're going to talk about that. But whenever we have this thing, when a game starts or when a game gets out of half, it'll tell you that it started. So that's something, as a bookmaker, it's very important, or as a bettor, if you know that the game is now started, a bookmaker needs to know I got to take my halftime down because the game has started. We're into the third quarter already. So we're going to get into all the alerts. It's just sometimes if it happens live, I want to be able to demonstrate it as it happens. Okay. You want to talk about in progress live lines. We could do basketball, which
Yeah, there's a question here about being able to tell when there is a game at a commercial break. Currently, I don't think we have anything like that. Is there any plans in the future to add something like that?
no, so the thing is that to know if a game is at a commercial break, it's all we know. The feed that we get is the clock, how much clock time is left, and what the current score is. For baseball, we get we'll show you the positions of who's. We'll even show you the count, and we'll show you the positions of who's on base. But with respect to football, basketball, basketball just moves too fast. Football, we could probably start to show more details, but SpankOdds is not designed for a cheering thing. Although it is, I get it, when it comes to live betting, it is very important if you know that the game is at a commercial break. But anybody, I always say, if you're betting live, and if you're using SpankOdds to know if the game is at a break or not, I don't advise that. Or if you're using a television or something like, you got to be careful because the sports books have the fastest feed out there, and by the time the game gets off a commercial on your TV, it might have already started already. So you got to be careful to maintain. Again, this is just my advice to be able to time your live betting accordingly, so that you don't get that the bookmaker doesn't take a shot at you. Okay, I'm going to just add these games here, and I'm going to just include in-game. So here are all the in-game prices, and this is why if it doesn't automatically fit, it just gets too bogged down here. So let's automatically fit this bad boy. So we see all these things are just moving in-game. Boom, 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 boom. Lines are just constantly moving. This game, 515, just came out of half. A lot of shit going on in this whole thing. But and I just created a custom tab. You could do the exact same thing that I just did by do manage basketball and include live. I personally like to work with custom tabs because custom tabs I could combine sports and leagues of different sports. So I could have a basketball and a football and baseball all on one screen, and I don't have to worry about that's just how I do it. Some people like to use the individual sport tabs. I personally don't. I like to use custom tabs, so I could change the order. Whereas like here, this is going to be the order, and you're stuck with whatever that order is. I believe so. I won't. I would recommend using a custom tab. So I just renamed. Have a couple of these tabs. One of them is mine. One of them I call FBM. You can name them whatever you want. But in my custom tabs, these are the live lines. Live is game 9XXX. So game 505. The live line is going to be 9505. Hawks and Hornets, and then these things are just moving. Boom, boom, boom. Now some of the feeds, the live feeds, we're working on getting them as best as possible. It's a work in progress. We might be missing a few, so just bear with us. It's we're doing our best to try to get everything, especially when a new sport starts, like NBA just started yesterday. So we got to make sure that we're maintaining and we're getting everything in, so that we're able to display it and try to make it as accurate as possible. So that's the in-play feature. Let's go back to display settings. Okay, so we already talked about comms automatically fit data. Show current previous open on mouse over. Okay, what does that mean? So when I'm looking at this game right now, 523, I'm pointing, let's just say at this line, let's just say low vig. Low vig is showing me that the current line is 1.5, previous line is 1.5 minus 09, opener is 1 minus 05. If I do an open game line history, shit, you don't see that either, do you? Hold on, maybe if I did it over here. Do you see my game line history, Scotty, or no?
I do not know.
Okay, that's not good. Can I share that as well? Like, how do I do that?
You can't share it based on what way you already have it set up. You have to share it different. Instead of doing the window, you have to do the whole screen. It's too late now at this point.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, if anybody has a SpankOdds, if you right click, you could see the line history, and then you could see. Now, if I point at the line, it will tell me the opener, current, previous, and opener. When I go to display settings, and if I don't want to see that, then that stopped sharing. That's not good. I just click stop sharing, so now I got to share again, right? Share. Okay. Yeah. Let me know if I shared it, Scotty. You see my shared thing still or no? Looks good? Okay. So if I click X on that, then when I'm pointing at the line, I do not see the current, previous, or opening line when I point at the line. So you could shut that off. The one thing that you have on certain sports books, which is one of my favorite features of SpankOdds that nobody in the world has, is you could see the current limits. at certain sports books. So right now, Chris, on tonight's game that's about to start in 9 minutes, notice how this green box goes around. Is this green or red? I think this is green. This green box goes around when a game was, I think, 10 or 11 minutes away to start. That just shows that it's about to start. When I point at the Chris line, 30 dimes on the side, 5 dimes on the total, 10 dimes on the money line. Pinnacle, 20, 5, and 12. Circa, 20, 3, and 5. That's a weird amount, 12 dimes on the money line at Pinnacle. Not everybody shares their limits. Caesars, 2,500, 2 dimes, 5 dimes, believe it or not. So not everybody shares their limits. The people that do share them, we display them. And if anybody that's watching this that gives us their feed, if you want to show your house limits, which I'm sure most people would not want to do because then they might be obligated to actually give those limits, which would be against their entire sportsbook model. But that's either here nor there. So this is showing you limits on games, and that's very, very important. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. But if you point at these things, you could see the current limits live. Back to the display settings. Okay, so this is let's go show line. We already showed line. Show border for best line. Okay, this is nice. This is a little bit too busy with the live line, so let me just take the in game out. A lot of things moving here. Oh, this is an empty list, so that's not the way. But okay, so let's just say let's clear out. Okay, what does this thing do now? Well, first off, let's talk about the best column. What is the best column? The best column is essentially giving you the best line out of all your columns. So when I have the best column here, if I wanted to bet Sacramento Kings, the best line out there on a point spread is going to be -1.5, -07 at Sunday bets. If I wanted to bet the dog, it'll be +2, -06 at ace. If I wanted to go over, look at this. The exchanges are battling each other. This is nice. Oh, no, they're not. Well, this is what we call Polish middle. But if I wanted to bet the over, the best line would be over 233.5 -02, or under 232.5 +11 at Sport Trade. -116 +110. Now, this is based on our math that we calculate. Some people might say, no, I disagree with your math. That's fine. That's okay. But this is what we believe that the best number is. If there is a profitable scalp or a middle that's not a Polish middle that is worth it, this best column will be highlighted in green. So let's just go to football over here. And let's pick something. We got a lot of things here going on. So let's remove this. Because things get tight. We'll move that for a second.
If you want to see a scalp right now in basketball, game number 525, South Point versus Forecaster on the money line.
Okay, on the money line. So if I'm going to go to M, so I might not have all these guys. So if I go to Calms Bookies, I'll add Forecaster just randomly anywhere here.
Yeah, it's South Point.
There you go. So forecast we have -64 and +170 at the South Point.
Yep, 6 cents.
Anytime 6 cent scalp, and that'll highlight in green if there's an earn, whether that be a middle or a scalp. So for totals, that's the totals and money line default spread. So there's a spread. So if I just spread, so this is an earn. If I lay 4 -7 of Forecasters +4.5 even at Barstool, -1.5 lay 03, it's that. Now the earn might not be that big, but it's still, according to us, it's an earn. This looks like a bad line here at this -1.5. So this is another thing that comes up often. I think I'm glad that it did. So this game goes off tomorrow. Notice I see -1.5, -110 at CD Sports. I notice now that every single sportsbook has a 6. So most likely that CD Sports line is probably dead, or it's probably not accurate. Something happened there. So what do I do? There's two options. You could right-click, disable the line, which would do that. Now, when you do that, and then there's another 1.5, believe it or not.
Spanky, I believe it's just a phantom line. I believe they don't have a line up yet.
Exactly.
And so it's just a phantom.
Yes. So now Atlantis has that, so we could just disable that. And then, so what happens is if you're seeing these phantom lines, in order to not have to delete the column altogether, whatever these are overnight, so a lot of them are phantoms, and we'll have to look into that. But you disable that, and now these things are disabled. Now, just because they're disabled doesn't mean you won't see them move. You just won't see the colors move, but those lines will still be accurate. Now, what you could do is you could re-enable a line. Let's just say enable this line, and now let's just say I want to disable all the forecasters. I would just say disable bookie. So that'll turn gray just to make sure that you know that bookie is completely disabled across everything. Because if it's usually bad for one thing, it's bad for everything. So now no matter where I go, forecasters is going to be disabled. And if I want to enable them, again, I would just right click enable bookie. And then they're back to being enabled. And then that fake middle is going to show. So we'll just do disable line. So that's what the best column is. Now let's talk about any questions before I move on?
It looks like we're good.
Okay. This is a lot of stuff. It's such a huge application, so I want to make sure I go through everything that everybody can understand. Most left best line highlighted. Okay, let's talk about that. So, see how this best says -5.5. Tomorrow's game, Milwaukee Bucks. CD Sports is highlighted as the -5.5 here. The +6 even is at Pinnacle. And then if I scroll over, +6 even at Pinnacle should be highlighted. I'll scroll this way then, maybe. There it is. It's highlighted in that box, right? Let's do a short team just to give me more space here. And -5.5 CD Sports. What I want to show is that is there any other 5.5 out there? I wish there was. No, there's not. Okay. Bad example. Let's do, we're live here. Let's do this example instead. -6. Oh no, -5. No, that's not good either. Shit.
You can do it like this, Spanky. Disable the 5.5, and then you got a bunch of 6s.
That's a good point. Let's do that. But yeah, but then I have 5.5 late 15. I do have a bunch of 6s. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think that's the way to do it. There's so many 5.5s. You know what? Football. I think it's going to be easier if I look for just a line that's. Because I want to show exactly what this does and how somebody could utilize this. Okay, -10 on this game, the Hawaii game, DraftKings. Is there anybody else that has a 10 on this game? It doesn't look like it. Okay. Anyway, let me try to go through the demonstration and explain it, and then we'll try to see exactly what's happening. What happens is this -10. If there was somebody else that had a -10 to the right of DraftKings, only the most left column is going to be highlighted as the -10. Why would you use something like that? Now, if I wanted to make it display settings and I wanted to say then it will be the most right highlighted column if I clicked it. Now for this thing, there's only 110, so it's still going to be highlighted. The way a bookmaker I think would use this if you're a bookmaker is some bookmakers want to know exactly where they stand out. So they want to know where do I have the best line in the world? Or if you're a bettor and you like to bet at a certain shop, let's just say I'm sitting in a DraftKings somewhere and I want to know where does DraftKings have the best line out there. So I would just go through this right now and I would see the only thing that DraftKings is highlighted on is that -10. That's it. So I know, and this is the rightmost, and if they're more closer to my left, I know that this is the best line out there. So let's just say Circa. Circa usually would have the best line. Right now, they don't have the best line because it's to the most right. So, but if Circa was highlighted and they're more closer to my left, then you would know that this is the best line out there. And a bookmaker or a sports bettor would want to know, do I want to be middle of the road of this game, or do I want to stick myself out there on this game? That's the most important part. Like low vig, for example. Low vig, I'm plus 13.5 -05 here. So I know I'm the best. So low vig, Or if you're betting at low vig, you could say, listen, let me look at the games I want to bet. This low vig has the best line. Instead of pointing at the best column and letting it show you that low vig has the best line, um, plus everything at 406, you could just look to see what's highlighted, and that highlight will show you the best line. I hope I made that clear. I don't want to drag it out too much, but that's what the most left or most right highlighted is. Alternating colors. If you don't want alternating colors, you could make this a whole white thing. Or as Scott likes with his, he chose his different alternating colors. Let's just say I did something like this. I don't know if this is going to be good or not. Does that work? No, that doesn't look right. No, I don't know what the hell that was. Have rows. Oh no, it's X'd out. That's why. Okay. Have rows alternating colors. So now the rows alternate colors that way. And listen, this is to each his own. You could design this all the different colors. You could color. Let's just say Pinnacle. I want to color Pinnacle. You could choose the color of Pinnacle, and you could make Pinnacle always be I don't know, this color. Let's just say. Well, that's the same exact thing. There's alternating colors. Of all the colors in the world, I choose the same one. We'll do that. So now Pinnacle is this color. So now I'll always have Pinnacle as that color. And you could do whatever you want. Play around with whatever color choices you use. Everybody's SpankOdds is going to be different. We're never going to force colors on you. You get to choose whatever colors you so desire. Okay. For soccer lines. Okay, let's talk about soccer. Soccer again is has not been given much love, and I recognize that. A couple of people pointed that out to me, and that's for sure. We're going to eventually give soccer a lot more love, and we're trying to make it viable. We're trying to put as many leagues in there as possible, try to get as many live feeds as possible. It's just that SpankOdds has always been a U.S. facing product, so the U.S. sports are our number one priority. So just bear with us for all you soccer guys. We're going to get to you eventually. Okay, but for this thing, display a quarter and 3/4 for soccer. So let's just go to soccer. Okay, notice how here, this game, Major League Soccer. I don't even know what these teams are. I don't like to use this short name. Let's just say San Jose, Kansas City. Notice Bet Online right here has minus 3.25 even, plus 3.25 minus 15. Now, if you don't like, oh no, just where's that? Minus 3.25 minus 02 plus 3.25 minus 18. If you don't want to see something like that, the 3/4, and you want to look at a 0.75 or the 0.25, you can just take that off, and then it will show you traditionally the halves will stay the same, but the quarters and the 3/4 will show in decimal format. We try to pay attention to as much detail as possible. Consensus line I'm going to talk about with VIG and not VIG, American odds. Okay, so this is something that that a lot of you guys love, so we're going to do that here. American odds. So there you go. This is decimal odds now. So a lot of people, they're probably catching a hard on looking at this shit. For me, I get a headache looking at this shit, but to each his own. That's why we created it. If you like to look at this and understand what this is, there you go. All the math is the same kind of. We do all this, so if there's a scalper middle, it's going to be the same thing. And it just converts all the American odds to decimal odds. And then ignore added and extra game line alerts. So that's on by default. That was another request we just put in earlier this year. The extra games and the added games, extra games in college football, they move so much and then it triggers so many line alerts. People want to shut them off. So now you pretty much ignore added and extra game line alerts. For props, they're always ignored. They just move too much and too often that anybody that tries to make a line alert and then wants to attach it to a prop, it's just too hard, too much, and overloads the system. And it doesn't provide the best experience. Last thing, opener button color. Last button color, row highlight color. So that we'll have that. So when you highlight a row, when you click that last button, and when you click the opener button, these are just colors. I'm going to go back to my gray here, Scotty. That's all right with you here, whatever that is. Okay, so that's the display settings. Any questions with that?
No, it looks like there's no questions in the chat right now.
Perfect. All right. Um, let's move on. Chart setup. Okay, what is a chart? So a chart, I have a whole video on this, and it's hard for me to go over it now. This is the video. Essentially, what it does, it'll read a comma delimited file. We have this available if you ever ask for it, the CSV. I know we have a link somewhere, or if you email support at SpankOdds.com or reach out to SpankOdds on Twitter, Scott will be able to send you a copy of this. And then essentially, this is designed to attach to your internal system or your internal software or whatever you have going to be able to show what your chart is, how much you have on each side, on each total, the net position that you have. This is used by my office extensively. We can't live without it. I have a whole video about it here that goes about it in depth and that explains exactly what the format is. If you're into that and if you want to see your chart live on your screen, I urge you to check that out. Next, consensus setup. Okay, so consensus lines. First off, let's look at bookies. We're going to add the consensus line here. We'll take out. We'll take out. We don't have to take out. I just want to fit everything in. So let's just take out the opener here, and then let's just add the consensus. We'll add the consensus right over here. Okay, save it up. Consensus is now blank because we never set it up yet. How do you set up a consensus? So what does a consensus do? We're going to create a new consensus line. Now, you could create it for all sports. You create it for certain sports. Let's just create it now for just football. Now, what happens is this, is in the consensus line, you're going to assign a percentage on all the sports books that are there. Now, again, these are all the sports books out there on the SpankOdds, and you could assign a percentage for each sports book, of course, the total being 100%. So if I'm going to make a consensus line, and I'm going to just choose things random, don't say, look at Spanky, he chose this consensus line, this is the way to go. No, it's not the way to go at all. I'm just going to bullshit and, let's start off by saying Hard Rock's 50%, okay? So let's make DraftKings 10%. Let's make Chris 10%. Penny, let's make it, 5%. Circle Las Vegas, 5%, and then notice how the total is just accumulating as we go. 5%. How about Jazz? 5%. Sheba, 10%. Okay? Save. So now I have my consensus line based on all those numbers. Now notice that this consensus line is a no VIG consensus line. -4 even, +4 even. -20 Leo 6, +20 Leo 6. If you want to attach VIG to your consensus line, you go back to columns display settings, and you would say remove VIG from consensus line. And now, boom, you now have the VIG attached to that consensus line. What do people use the consensus line for? A lot of people use it saying, okay, this is what I think the aggregate sharp line is. A lot of people, a bookmaker might say, I don't want to be too far away from the consensus line. A sports bettor, when he sees a consensus line, he might say, listen, whatever bet I place, I got to make sure I'm betting better than the consensus. There's different ways you could use it. How you use it, it's up to you. But I just gave you 3 examples from both sides of the counter. The thing about the consensus line that is very important is this can change per sport. So now let's just say I go back and I do consensus setup. I have my consensus setting and has all these football. Let's just say I create new. Now let's just say I do this. I click all sports. It's not letting me. It's not letting me click football. Why? Because it knows that football has been used. I can't have a double consensus on football. I can't click all sports. Now, if I have basketball consensus, let's just say, and if I just make this one, let's just say 50-50, Penny Chris, boom, I have basketball. So now when I go to basketball, there it is. That's my consensus for those guys, for Pinnacle and Chris. And this is with VIG attached. And the VIG assumes your vig is always going to be assuming that it's that you're holding 4.5, 4 point, whatever the number is, 4.54%, um, um, give or take. Um, and then this applies to totals as well, or money lines. Um,
Let me jump in for a second, Spanky. We have a
yes,
question out here from
yes.
Daniel. He has a question about if a sports book has the best line, does that mean they have an opinion on the game, or are they do they just have too heavy of action on one side or the other? What's your opinion? If Circa has the best line on a baseball game, what does it mean?
Okay, so that's getting into the beyond how to use it. Yes. So when a sports book like a Circa has a best line, so for example, right here, Circa, they have the best line. If I'm looking at the best, if I let's go to totals. Let's just say, okay, the best total over 44.5 flat. Best total here under 45.5. Okay, so Circa deliberately has a 44.5 there, but you got to look at it. I'm looking at the limit. It's 2 dimes. Okay, so you got to look at what the limit is. When you couple the limit, and I've said this a million times, I'll say it 1,000,001 times. A line without a limit is a house without a neighborhood. You cannot look at a line unless you know what the limit is. So when you're trying to decipher what that line is, if they have the best line and they have a high limit, best believe that they're dying for some overaction here. They still might be dying for some overaction here. But at a 2 dime limit, I'm not reading as much into it as if it was a 20 dime limit or a 10 dime limit. Same thing right now with Chris. They're also taking 2 dimes on this. So I'm not sure exactly. That's the beautiful thing about shopping around. Where if you like the under, it's a full point difference here. And that's all over the place. So, and then here you have a profitable middle. If you go over 47.5 minus 10 under 48.5 minus 05, that's a positive EV bet if you bet both of these bets. Now some people might say, oh no, but wait a minute, I'm not a middler, I just want to bet. That's okay too. So at least now you know what you want to bet here and where you want to bet it. So here you could see that if you want to just bet one side or the other, you'll know exactly who got the best, and then you would bet there accordingly. Here, WPH over 47.5, or if you want to bet the under 40.5 minus 05 at FanDuel. So to answer that question, back to answer the question, I can't really answer it. It all depends on the limit, um, but it's something to definitely look out for. Now, look, here's another one. Look at this NFL. Now we're 5 dimes. NFL games, Tennessee, KC, 5 dime limit. And then you just compare that to the market, and then you just see, Pinnacle 1,500, 3 dimes at Chris. So Circus taking a pretty big pop on his total, 5 dimes. And they have that 52 hung with confidence. They're purposely, that, when Circa does something, it's usually not a mistake, and they're not lazy bookmakers. Everything's done deliberately. So they're telling people, come, bet me my under. You're more than welcome to. Why is that happening? What could be the reason that's happening? Several reasons. They could have internal handicappers that probably made the total a lot higher than what it is. The more likely reason is that they've written several bets on the over, and they believe that the over at this price could be the right side, or they might have written bets on both over and under, and they feel 52 is the right number. The way to determine it is you open a game line history and you look. I look now, and you can't see this, but if anybody's watching or playing along with me here, Circa opened a game 51.5. Then they went to 54. Then they went to 52.5, and then they settled at 52 3 days ago. So right now they believe, obviously somebody bet them over 51.5, somebody bet them under 54, and somebody they respect. The limit at that time was a dime. They increased their limit to 3 dimes 2 days ago, and just earlier today they went up to 5 dimes. This is a very important screen that I think I got to find a way to share. So if I just say present, let me see if I could try to present this, Scotty, this other screen.
The way
Um,
you present is you have to say when you go to present, you have to say show whole window. You're showing particular whole screen. I think it says whole screen.
okay, let me try that. Stop screen, present. Share screen window. Yes, I could show this window right now. Boom. How's that?
That I can see now.
Okay. So that was that circa total that we just showed here. Just zooming in. So again, circa, again, they're at 52 now. Open up 51 and a half. Again, taking dime limits. Went to 54, went to 52 and a half, now at 52, and then went up to 3 dimes and 5 dimes. So right now, it's a feel out process. What is the bookmaker's objective? The bookmaker wants to get to the closing line as fast as possible and as cheaply as possible. What is the professional sports bettor's objective? To try to not have the bookmaker get to the closing line until they have very high limits, and then you pound them at post. Or they think that they're confident, but they're really not. And again, this is like higher level type shit. I'm just explaining of the best of the both sides of the counter where that's what you want. So the bookmaker wants to get to that closing line fast. The bettor doesn't want the bookmaker to do that. He wants him, if he's going to write a bet, he wants the bookmaker to take a bigger limit so that he can exchange the information for the bet. And that's the game between bookmaker and bettor. Now, what's happening is people that are betting this total over 51 and a half at Circa because Circa opened up at 2 p.m. Eastern right here on Sunday like they always do. Is this Sunday? Yeah, Sunday. And then boom, boom, boom. They wrote the bet and now 54. So they're not going to 54 just for laughs. Somebody bet the over, right? Now, they only took a dime. Now, who's doing that? Somebody sharp? Yes. But could it be somebody somebody that's so sharp that maybe they wanted Circa to go higher? It's only a dime. It's not past somebody like me or anybody, for that matter, trying to manipulate markets to make Circa think that, okay, this is a sharp account, their profile is a sharp account, to then bet this to make them go higher. But then look, somebody went and knocked it back down again. And they knocked it back down, about 16 minutes later. So this is analysis that you could just do looking at line history and kind of figure out to try to decipher what exactly the bookmaker's thinking. And then when you do that, you could then try to project what the bookmaker's next move is, or what the sharp syndicate's next move is at that bookmaker. Predicting the closing line is better than winning. Because if you know where the line's going to close, and if you could beat that close by enough to overcome the bookmaker's VIG, you essentially have solved sports gambling. You know how to win. How do you do that? And with this way is to analyze line movements in the top-down way. Okay, I'm glad I shared that. I'm sorry I couldn't share that. So now let me share the screen again. Present my SpankOdds. Is SpankOdds now showing, Scott, or no?
Yes, it is.
Perfect. Okay, where do we leave off here? Okay, this game went final right now. What a blowout. Orlando blowing out Houston. Let's talk about game alerts. Well, no, you know what? Maybe not. I already talked about the consensus setup. Okay, yeah. So there's your consensus setup that you could set up. And then you could remove VIG or not remove VIG. Okay, before we get into line alerts, I'm going to skip line alerts. I'm going to go to game alerts. Started. So they're all going to look the same. Okay? Started alerts. When a game starts, you want to know, here are the things I put as a default. You could remove things, USFL, I don't even know why that's in there, but you could put that, whatever. What happens now? Pop-up notification, sound notification. Notice how when games started, they showed in the top right. Also notice how that screen disappears after, it seems, 29 seconds. That's what we had it as. You could set that to whatever you want. You might want to keep it up for 60 seconds if you want. Okay, look, it just started again. Well, I don't think this is going to hold, but a game just started. Now I could move that pop-up over here. So I could test the pop-up. It'll be just started over here. If I want to test the sound, I can test it. If you want to use a cut, that's the default sound. If you want to use a custom sound, you can. I've gotten word that the custom sound might not be working as fully as it should, so we'll look into that. But, if you want something other than started, these are bugs that we're probably going to be working out. But for now, started is okay. The guy sounds pretty cool. Started. And then you save. So I'm going to make the started go over here in the top left. Change it up a little bit, and we'll keep it up for 35 seconds. Okay, save. Other game alerts, and these are all the same. Final. Now, when the game goes final, I have here, we can make this bottom right, 30 seconds, pop up or sound. Again, it all depends on how you want to make it. You can make it that you don't have pop ups, you don't have sounds, you have one or both. That's all up to you. Fully customizable, whatever sports you want to choose. Again, I just choose the major sports, but you could, to each their own, you could just choose whatever you want. Save. Other things that are pretty self explanatory half times, excuse me, lineups is another one. Officials currently not working. That's so I have that, but we're not doing officials. The officials, a lot of people swear by official edge and stuff. It all depends. I think it's more for umpires, home plate umpires. There still might be something there. I don't know if you're looking at different officials or not. There's different theories on that. We're probably going to definitely get around to this eventually, so that you can have official alerts. So when we find out the officials for both NBA and these things are announced publicly everywhere. But if we want to integrate this into SpankOdds, eventually we'll get around to it. But this is currently not active. So if you have officials on saying, Spanky, I have my officials set up, but you didn't tell me the officials, my apologies. We haven't set this up yet. A lot of the stuff is a dream that slowly became reality. So that's still dreaming. Okay, injuries. So now, here's another one. Injuries, make sure you have this set up, because my injury team is the best in the world. Pop up sound, get the whole 9 yards. Make sure that shit is showing, boom, boom, boom. You want to get those injuries, because that's what we take pride in that. Again, we have all these sports listed, okay? And if somebody says, Spanky, I had Norway elite Syrian injuries, and this Norwegian guy was out, and you don't let me know. Look, then you know what, man? I don't know what to tell you, brother. This ain't for you. I'm sorry. Again, these are dreams. Right now, we're U.S. sports facing. Eventually, we're gonna have all these injuries, but I'm just being honest. This only currently works for the major U.S. sports now. So although we have it set up for the future, um, Norway, Ellerstein, elite Syrian, I don't even know how to say that, injuries are not, you could have that listed, you could have it checked off, but it ain't going to happen. Like, you ain't going to get a notification for that. All right. Pitching changes, yes, and time changes, yes. Pitching changes now that baseball's, and again, that's just for MLB. Time changes, we have a little bit of a bug. Sometimes with the fights, they change. So a lot of people get these fighting time changes, and a lot of them, people get pissed off at us. I'm sorry, we're working. That's another bug that we're working on. But if the game has a time change, we update it, and then we try to announce it. So those are the game alerts. Any questions, Scotty, before we move on?
Well, I always bring this up when you talk about pitcher changes, and you've talked about next year making the announcement different with a pitching change on an overnight compared to a today's game. That's still on the list, right?
Yes, absolutely. Overnight pitching changes are different um, than um, than your regular pitcher changes. Notice how the final game, Charlotte beat Atlanta by 6, and notice how that showed up in the bottom right now. I mean, again, you customize SpankOdds the way you want to customize it, um, and and everybody utilizes it the way they want to. Blowout after blowout. Look at this, just blowouts everywhere in this NBA. Okay. And then this will disappear after I don't know what it was, or you could just exit out at your convenience. If a final happens while there's something that's their final, another box will just show up on top or on the bottom of the previous box. So you don't have to worry about one box overstepping the other box. All that shit is handled accordingly. Look, I got my started now, and it's a lot of shit going on. Games are going off, games are going final. It's a busy NBA day. This thing now just started. This isn't. Oh, that doesn't start. That might have just went final here. Hold on. So something happened here. Sometimes these things get triggered. No. Oh, okay. So what happened? This thing went from final Okay, I get what's happening now. So this is something that we're working on as well. This game went from final. The status changed from final to back in progress, so it's not final. Apparently, there's 6 seconds. What happens? We're trying, and this is a good thing to talk about internally. What we're doing is we're trying to get three or four different feeds. And what happens is whatever feed gives us the information the fastest, we're going to publish out there. However, fast is not always accurate. So if we don't, so we're going to publish it, but accuracy is a very important thing, and a lot of bookmakers have told us this. Spanky, the most important thing when it comes to these scores is accuracy. Now, barring from me hiring a staff to be in every arena or stadium and reporting the correct score at halftime, reporting the correct score the final, that's tough. That's not, we just don't have that capability. So what do? We rely on feeds from different sources, consolidate them all. So there we had a false final, or maybe that is final. I'm not sure if somebody has another source. But what we do is sometimes we might delay it if we do see a false. There's algorithms running in the background where we want to make sure that that if we have a false final or any final for that matter, that we're sure of it. This is a good time where the details to column might come into play, where we might publish one or the other feed in the details too, and then somebody could compare to make sure that it's final or not. Again, this is for bookmakers trying to grade their bets. And I don't know if you're a better, I would, again, scoring the data here. Again, we make sure in our terms and conditions we don't guarantee the validity of all the data. We try our best to make sure that it's as accurate and valid as possible. But these are feeds, so you just never know. We do what we can, and there's an example of a false final flash. So you just got to be careful. Okay. We went over the game alerts. Let's talk about line alerts. Actually, you know what? Let's not talk. Line alerts we're going to do last. I want to do that last. Let's talk about tabs. Okay, so these tabs, football, you could just go to, manage, or hide. So go to just essentially goes to the football, or you could say manage or hide. So these things essentially just go to the tab instead of clicking on the tab. Real simple. Windows, new again. I showed you that I'll open up a new SpankOdds windows. Injuries. Okay, so we have our injuries, historical injuries. No, not historical injuries. That's wrong. This is our windows, our current injuries. So let's now look at NBA. Okay. Obviously, you don't see this, so I'm going to have to do that whole screen sharing shit that we just did. So let me do that real quick, Scotty, while I do this. Boom, boom, boom. Present, share screen, window, injury window, boom. Okay. So I clicked injuries now. This will show me all the NBA injuries for the day. Now this is the exact same thing is when you would point at if you had your details 2 up. That's nothing. Details 2 if we don't have a score. But if you were able to point, let's say this Dallas Mavericks game. This Dallas Mavericks is essentially going to you can't see that shit. Okay, if I pointed at Dallas Mavericks, it's going to essentially match what's in the injuries. Yeah, you can't. Can you? Yeah, it doesn't look like you can see anything there. It's getting. I'm trying to show SpankOdds, but it doesn't work. Okay, no problem. We're learning. We don't go live too often. But yeah,
Right. And this program is not perfect either. So we're doing the best that we can.
yes. Um, okay, so that's where it could show you the injuries instead of having to point that. It'll be in one spot. That's what the injuries does. Let me now stop sharing and then go back and actually, you know what? Yeah, let's share this and then go back and share that. And hold on.
Oh, and to be clear, what I meant is I am a big fan of StreamYard, but it is not perfect for streaming.
Yeah. Okay, you see my SpankOdds?
I just put it up.
All right. Let's go to font. Font setting. You could make it whatever font you like. Whatever how big you want it. These are just plain. These are just basic things. Help. Okay, help. let's talk about what that does, and we'll talk about line history, and then we'll talk about line alerts. What is help? So help has membership. So membership is your current membership level is pro, and renews on this date, which we just which is about a year from now. Would you like to manage? Now, if you click yes, essentially that will manage it. If you want to change your credit card maybe or cancel your membership, that's where you'll say yes. It'll take you to the SpankOdds website, our payment portal, where you can then manage your SpankOdds membership. And if you don't want to renew, you click cancel on that. Another thing is reload. Reload essentially logs you out and logs you in. This is something that I don't advise to use too often, but if you see some stale lines, a reload might be in order. Um, I haven't used this in a long time. And then help, of course, opens up a YouTube video that kind of gives a generic help. Let me see if reload. So the reload thing kind of it essentially goes through the entire login process, um, and I don't really advise using it. But right there, I just reloaded everything. So if you notice something happening that's slow, again, if you try to reload multiple times, you can't reload more than once within 60 minutes. So, because this is a strain, you're like multiple logins on a server, shit gets crazy. So if you do want to reload, do that if you see a stale line.
Let me
Um,
jump in for a second here.
yes,
I think there's a better fix for the stale lines, and that is the sleep settings on your computer. I have a video that I have made that shows you how to fix that, and I believe it is far more effective than actually doing this reload because it will prevent it from happening. And I would rather prevent it from happening than to fix it. So if anybody is seeing a stale line, let me know, or you can go to youtube.com, do a search for Spanky's channel, and he has one on there called Clean Install. And I have just added the part on how to fix the sleep settings. So I think that's a better fix at this time.
beautiful. There you go. Perfect. Well said, Scotty. Yeah, sometimes if you sleep, the connectivity between SpankOdds and your computer dies, because the computer, depending on its sleep status. So Scott kind of teaches you that you don't really need to sleep. He shows you how to go through all that if you want to. Or listen, the best thing also is every morning, shut down SpankOdds and restart it. I can't stress that enough. Don't keep SpankOdds up for multiple days. You're only asking for problems. It's not designed, although it will still function, but it's unpredictable if it stays up for more than 12, 13 hours.
Well, I think the main reason you want to reboot it every day, and I do think you should reboot it every day, is we've had two different releases today alone of new SpankOdds being released. For example, the build that you're running right now is not the build I'm running at my house. I'm running version 27. You're running version 28 because about 2 hours ago I saw a new build got pushed. I don't have that option that you do about selecting different sports for the injuries. Mine are all together because I'm
Gotcha.
running an older version. Please restart SpankOdds every day because there's being improvements made almost every single day and you don't want to miss out.
And to your point, Scott, there's actually a new build I just got from my one of my techs. Is now there's .28.1. So there's a version just got released, fixing little things, little bugs here and there that we're always finding. So it just keeps improving, improving, improving. We're trying to keep building. This is not a stagnant. This is a very lively project. We're alive. Everybody's working on this nonstop, trying to make it, especially now that we're charging. So not that we weren't when we weren't charging, but it's a priority when a paying customer says, "Hey, listen, help me out. What's going on here?" The ears are a lot more open.
And I think you're exactly right. I've only been logged on for 12 hours and I'm two versions behind.
There you
So
go.
please, please restart SpankOdds every day.
All right. So I think we talked about that. Let's talk about line history. I'm going to go with history, line history. Okay. And let's do that. And let me hold on. I have to share this now. Let me share that here. Hold on here, Scotty. Just give me a second so that I can share it. Okay. Okay. So line history. Oh, I gotta share it. Shit. Present. Stop screen. Present. Share screen. View historical lines. How's that looking? You see it? You see my
I
thing?
see it. Yeah, it's perfect.
Okay, so let's just say I'm choosing NFL, and I'm choosing, let's just say last, what is this today, 25th? Let's just say Sunday's game, search games. I'll be able to search all the games here, whichever game I want. Let's just say, how did this Commanders Giants game, full game, look at the bookies that you want to choose. You could choose select all, or you could just choose one bookie. Let's just say S411. I want to look at sides totals, and I click search. This will then give me the line history, every line move, every limit change since the line was hung for sides and totals. Now, I don't know if you see this line history designed for casual use only. Any robotic scraping activity will result immediately banned. Okay, we don't want anybody scraping this because, again, we could sell this entire data set and somebody could actually, find the way, because we give you 20 searches a day. So if you wanted to go through it and search every day, you could go ahead. But we don't want people to pound us and shit because we recognize that this information is very valuable. You're a pro user. This is only available for pro users, by the way. And then you could start analyzing shit and notice, there's limits going up, limits going down. There's a lot of stuff going on here. And then you have, a lot of things. So you could, then of course, right at post, that's where 50,000, and that was the closing line. So again, this is important information, and we can't kind of like give it away for nothing. We want you to use it, utilize it, enjoy it. But again, keep in mind that this is not for robotic activity. If you want to buy some of this stuff, reach out to us. We haven't really set up a pay structure, but it's going to be thousands and thousands of dollars if depending on the sport, depending on the duration. This is not a $500 a month tool data set. That's you can't just sign up for a month, try to grab all the data, and then say, all right, see you later. We'd hope that although some people might do that, but we kind of want this for casual use only. Okay, let's stop that. That's the present share screen. How are we doing so far?
I think so far we're so good. No problem.
Okay, so I went through every single except line alerts. Let's talk about line alerts. Okay, this is kind of like the real brains behind SpankOdds. A lot of things that happen are from the line alerts. So let's just set up a line alert. Let's set up a football line alert. So what's happening here? A line alert essentially is an alert that you can have, and you can have the program monitor different line moves and then report them when the certain moves that you have configured are triggered. So, an example spread. If within 10 seconds, two bookies move at all. Now, that's pretty mindless, right? If you have two bookies move at all, unless you make the bookies your special bookies, then that's different. Or what you could do now, the next level of sophistication, let's just say, is move a line by a certain number of points and a certain number of cents. Now, this for football is probably not recommended. Why? Because a certain number of points or a certain number of cents, the distribution on the value of each half point in football is not uniform. It's obviously, the 3s and the 7s are heavy, and the 10s and the 14s, and the 2s and the 5s and the 9s are not as important. So, whereas in basketball, it's pretty uniform what each half point is worth, more or less. So you could kind of get away with using this configuration for basketball. For football, not. So what would you use for football? You would move it as a percentage of value. And this essentially normalizes all the line moves for you. And then you could monitor the line moves at a certain percent. So if, let's just say I want to do this 3% of value. Let's just say 2 bookies, boom, boom, boom. Now, how do I want to be alerted of this? I can play an audio. You could test that audio. Let me know if you hear this, Scotty.
Okay.
Did you hear major line move?
No.
You did not hear major line move.
No, I did not.
Okay. I'm testing the audio, and it doesn't work. Well, I'm hearing it.
Oh, it may not be broadcast over the line.
Oh, okay.
It may not have nothing to do with SpankOdds. It may be StreamYard.
But in the past, though, when I shared it, you heard all the audio alerts, correct?
Right. The problem is I have 7 SpankOdds running here at my house, and I can't guarantee you that I was hearing yours and not mine. I believed it to be yours, but I can't guarantee it was yours.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay.
Can somebody put in the chat if you're hearing major line move?
When I click this sound, probably not. Right? Okay. Either way, there's a minor line move. There's beeps. There's different sounds.
I heard the beep.
You did hear the beep.
Yeah, I heard the beep.
Okay. All right. Okay, so none of them. I don't think anybody can hear it. It's okay. There's horns and whatever. Anyway, there's different sounds that you could make, and you could set them up for whether it be a spread, total. You could show a pop up again. Let's show the pop up over here. Have that pop up stay up there for 30 seconds, and then this is an important thing. Re-notify me on the same side only after, let's just say, 2 minutes have elapsed. Why is this important? Because let's just say something is steaming, and let's just say you have it on football, college football, and you have, let's say, all bookies. If something is steaming on one game, if you don't set this at a high number, every 2 minutes, you have to give it a chance to stop and settle down, then you're going to keep getting alerts all the time. Again, this could be set for any different type of period, etc. And then you have to name your alert. I'm going to call this my football alert. I'll just call this football. Okay. Yep, there's another thing with the final and this in progress. So we're going to have to look at that. All right, save. So now I set up my line alert. Why would you use it? So now if I want to edit existing, I just go back and then I can edit exactly what I just touched on. This is something I like to use just to show the test. Maybe we do it for move it all, because then to show you, we can actually make it just one bookie move it all, which will, anytime a bookie moves, it'll show. You know what I'm saying, Scotty? I'm thinking so. Anytime the next football line move, I'm hoping. I don't know, maybe an alert will show. But these line alerts are important. How you configure them is very important. And I can't stress enough. Why is that double? I can't stress enough how we utilize this to find out, to anticipate where the lines are going. So I urge anybody to utilize this feature and to utilize it to the best when it comes. Okay, I just got a thing here. Line move football. Sport Trade just moved here. This is probably taking the game down. I think they close at night or whatever. My God, did you hear that beep or no?
I did. I heard the beep.
Okay, that was really loud. I got to shut this thing off here. So you can just disable that just by doing spread. Just disable it. But okay.
I heard that one too.
Yeah, so did I. Okay, we're going to save this. Okay, so that's line alerts. Why would you use line move alerts? Again, to find out, to anticipate where something is steaming. And again, I chose every sports book. You want to choose the sports books that you might have a question mark on, or that you feel, or that don't move a lot. So here you saw Sport Trade moving. That's an exchange. They're going to be moving their lines a lot more often than other sports books. Speaking of which, let me explain. I showed you the limits on Circa. I like to show the current previous open. We showed the limits on Circa, see 10, 2, and 3. When I look at an exchange's limits, for instance, Sport Trade, here I'm going to have two different sets of numbers because this is an exchange. So the top is going to be your visitor, over, and visitor money line, and the bottom limit is going to be your home spread, under, and home money line. And then this is just constantly changing because it's exchange. As orders get filled, we get new amounts. Same thing with profit exchange. As orders gets filled, we get new amounts. And then sometimes, if there's only one line, there might not be an offer on both sides. So that's something to look into. But that's how it works with exchanges, where there's two sets of amounts, as opposed to something like a Chris or a Pinnacle, where the amount, no matter which side you bet, is the same amount. Okay, let's talk about line seekers. First off, add or update a line seeker. Okay, line seeker. This is an important tool for anybody, bottom up, top down, no matter what kind of bettor you are. You want to know when a line gets to where it's going to get. You want SpankOdds to notify you, and you to give you an alert instead of having to look left and right. So let's just say a good example. I'm going to just pick a game here. Let's look at this. Let's look at this Syracuse game. Syracuse VTU line right now. No, let's pick something else. Okay. Let's 14 minus. Trying to pick something that might have a chance to actually get there, but it doesn't look that case. Yeah. Okay, let's just say we'll do this. This looks pretty good here. Okay, best line 167 minus 7.5 layout 3 or plus 8 is the best. So let's just say I want to have 167, which is UNLV, to be able to I want to get notified when that line gets to 8. Sorry, this thing is right here. No, it's already 8. When it gets to 8.5. So if I do line seekers, if I add update and I go to game 167, you scroll down, boom. Okay. And then I want to know when UNLV gets to 8.5. Okay. Now, and I want to use a mathematical equivalent. What does that mean? That means that if it gets to 8.5 minus 110, or the mathematical equivalent of that when you normalize it from another spread. So let's just say if it gets to, let's just say plus 8 minus 0.04, or what? Let's say the 8 we believe is worth 6 cents. I'm just pulling numbers out of my butt. But let's just say the 8's worth 5 cents. So if you get the plus 8 minus 0.05, it'll still alert you that plus 8.5 minus 110 is reached, as long as this mathematical equivalent is checked. If you're like, I don't want your mathematical crap, no mathematical equivalent, I'm going to uncheck this. That means if it's not plus 8.5 minus 10 or better, so if it's plus 8.5 minus 0.9, it's good, 8. But if I don't want you to convert the spread and the juice to 8.5 minus 110, I'm not using your mathematical equivalent, then you don't do it. So you do that, you would click activate, and then this is for the full game. And then you would click save. Okay? So now we have that line alert, line seeker. So then we have, if you wanted to update this line alert, it'll just load up. Now, This is a good line alert. You could set it up as good, bad, or neutral. What does that mean? Okay, let's just say I make the game 7.5. Okay, the line is 7.5, 8, but it's a play for me only at 8.5. So when I get an 8.5, I want SpankOdds to notify me, and I want it to notify me with a good notification. What does a good notification mean? A good notification is I go to Line Seeker's alert method setup. Okay, essentially it tells me which bookies are you looking at to look for these numbers. Let's just say all. And now this is good, bad, and neutral. So the good notification would be one of these things. Okay. You know, did you hear that, Scotty, or no?
I did not hear that one.
Okay. So some of them, like F, I don't want to curse on the stream in case there's kids, but whatever. It could be, yeah, or a double horn or whatever. So that could be a good thing. So if I hear that, I want to pop up and I want to show that pop up again for 40 seconds over in this right corner over here. I'm happy. Test that pop up, boom, test that sound. Yes, I'm happy. The 8.5 was reached at one of these sports books, and you could choose whichever sports books you want. It'll alert you of that. Now, if I set that as a bad or for any future bad line alerts, that's like, okay, shit. I don't know. I took a lead on a game, and I think I'm going to be able to get closing line value. I laid 3. The line's painted 3 and 3, mostly 3, a little 3.5 out there. But I want to know if a line goes to 2.5, and if it does, I'm going to be screwed. So that's going to be a bad line alert. So a bad line alert, you would probably want to play a bad message, something like a "oh shit" or "oh no, this sucks" or a "what WTF," whatever. You know what I mean? That's the line alert. You could play whatever you want, and then you set that as a bad line alert. And then you have your neutral line alert, which you just don't care. I just want to know if this line ever hits 7.5. I want to investigate, or 8.5. I want to investigate further and figure out what I want to do. And again, you could set up your whatever audio you want to set up with that. Re-notify me again. Let's just say the game is steaming, and now a bunch of places are going to 8.5. It's going to keep giving you this alert every 30 seconds if you have it set up this way. However, if you do it every 5 minutes, after the first alert, 5 minutes later, within the 5 minutes after that, it will not notify you of any alerts within that 5-minute time frame, and then it will reset again. If another 8.5 pops up after that 5 minutes, then it will re-notify you again. So this again avoids SpankOdds from overblowing and let's say the line's steaming, the favorite steaming. Then if you get a bunch of 8.5s, you're not going to get killed with all these alerts. So that's why you would set that. You set that up, boom, boom, boom. So I set that up if you want to, whatever you want to do. This is you set up once for all your alerts. Have a good thing there and have different beeps, double horn, or we can make that shit. Oh no, this sucks. And make this one, just a nice beep. Click save, boom. So now with my line seeker again, given my alert method setup, remember my alert method setup, it's going to play this sound file. I know that now when I get that 8.5 on this game, it's going to play the good sound, the good line alert, and the good line alert. It's going to play the good line alert, not the bad or the neutral. Now, if I let's just say you could say, look, if this thing goes down to 7.5 or 7, let's just say, this is going to be bad for me. So you could update that line alert and click save. So now you have a good and a bad. We like to do that. Our line alerts are more so bad than good, depending. But good line alerts are good, and it depends on the scenario. Again, if you're handicapping, if you make it, again, bottom up, top down, it doesn't matter. If you're middling games and you need the line to be at a certain number to have a profitable middle. If let's just say you laid $1.30 on a game and you're right now the best line is plus 125 on the other side, but you want to scalp it. Let me know if I could get to at least a plus $1.30 to break even, or if I could get to higher than that, or if it goes below what I bet. Bad, good. These line seekers will help you. And instead of you getting caught with your pants down, or it'll help you nab a number that might show up at a certain spot before somebody else grabs it. I hope I'm clear on that. um, for the line seeker alerts. Okay. Last but not last ones. There's several ones. Okay. Opener alerts. Okay. So what are the opener alerts? Opener alerts is something we don't use anymore personally. This is one of the tools we have used in the past. We used to heavily bet openers. We don't anymore, but some people still do. And sometimes you didn't know when the opener would come up. So let's just say, or whatever for sports, let's just say full game for NFL. I want to on the spread or the total, whatever. Well, let's say both. I want to play an audio, default sound. It'll play that and it'll show a pop up, and that pop up will last for 30 seconds. Now, this send text that was working internally. What we're going to do is we're going to have a text notification system we'll be adding. So this will be kind of deprecated, that checkbox, but we're going to have another setting where we're going to allow, if you would like, to be able for us to send you a text message when something opens, or if there's an injury alert. You're going to get a text message when it happens. Again, this will only be applicable for pro users because it's obviously for any delayed users. It just doesn't make sense. So we're going to implement that soon, and we're going to make a whole different gamut. That's just a yet to come type stuff. And then again, usually people open up sportsbooks open up the lines all at once. So you want to kind of tell the program, shut up for 5 minutes. I don't want to. Once I hear the first opener, usually the other openers are coming right afterwards, so I don't have to worry about getting bombarded with alerts. And let's just say I want to just know when these guys open, these five, or and I just want to do it for NFL. Maybe I do it for college football too. Now, some people announce their openers. I know Circa does it 2 p.m. Eastern every Sunday. That's not always been the case. They've done it for a year or two that way. But some people are different. They're variable. You never know. So this is, again, designed if you want to know about openers. And it could be for different parts. Somebody, they might open full game, but, I don't know when they open first half. So I don't know how standard it is, or maybe money lines. Some people don't hang their money lines till later. And then you would just click save, and now you would have an opener alert. Last but not least, limit change alerts. This is important. Okay, limit change alerts. So what does this do? Limit change alerts is whenever a limit goes up or down, and then you could set it on how much it goes up or down. So I have limit change alerts here set up as your default setting: full game, first half, spread, total. I have a limit increase and a decrease alert separately. Limit increase, fire away, come get some. This one would say, come get some, you little bitch. So essentially, when the bookmakers increase their limits, they're like, come and get some. I'm ready for you. Come and get it. Or you could do a horn, double horn, or scream. Limit decrease, when a bookmaker decreases their limit, which is not often, but when they decrease their limit, they're getting nervous. Oh, and there's some other, so what the fuck? You know what I mean? There's all different things that you could set when a bookmaker decreases their limits. Usually, when a bookmaker decreases limits, my injury team has it set up that when a bookmaker decreases their limits, we want to get notified of that, because usually they might be privy to an injury, or there's something that we might not know about, and that we might need to investigate further. So a limit decrease is an important thing, where something might not have flashed, or something probably just flashed. Most bookmakers, there's two different mindsets when it comes to bookmaking. When it comes to injuries, most bookmakers would there's different schools of thought. Some schools of thought is just to take the game off the board. I don't know what the hell's happening. I don't want to write out a bet right now because I don't know who's in or who's out. If there's an injury, the guy's questionable. I want to know more. The other school of thought, which is my preferred school of thought, if I were to be a bookmaker, is speculation is what warrants action. So you want to be, if this is the time where you're going to write business. Now, you sure you can get caught with your pants down, but you know what? Move the line aggressively, lower your limits, and then see where we're at. Because sometimes, it's the buying the rumor, selling the news type thing. Speculation warrants action, and if you're able to move accordingly, and you have an auto mover set up, it might not be that bad. Again, everybody's different. I'm not a bookmaker, but these are just the different philosophies one could use. Now, you could, for limit increase, you could show a pop-up for increase or decrease, 30 seconds. Re-notify me on the same sport and bookie only after 5 minutes. So usually a bookmaker might want to increase their limits across the board on a certain sport. Then you don't want to get notified every single game when they increase their limits. No. So you want it to shut up. Don't notify me for 5 minutes on any limit increase for that bookie and sport, because that'll stop the occurrence of them doing not a one-off, but doing like a group limit change. And then only alert me of percentage changes that are greater than or equal to. Obviously, you can't be greater than 0%, but 0% is the lower number. And then you could also set it up. So if a bookmaker changes their limit, you could go up to 1% as opposed to 100%, which is essentially doubling their limit. And then you could just set the percentage accordingly and greater than or equal to. And that's it. So here, this is any limit increase. And then we click save, and that's the limit change alerts. All right. I think any questions so far? I went over. There's other things in the application I want to talk about, but I went over every menu item and every button on top. Any questions on what we've talked about so far? Anybody?
It looks like there's no open questions at all at this point. I think the presentation has been unbelievably educational for everybody. The one thing I would like to see you go through is going to SpankOdds.com and going through what options you get as a basic user compared to a full user compared to a pro user.
Absolutely. I'll do that last. Let me go over a couple of things here with respect to highlighting. Okay. So let's just say I have my football, and I have a football tab. I'm going to edit football, and I'm gonna include college football, all the college football games for the week. Okay, boom, and I'm gonna include extra games also. And there's no college football prop. Let's just say extra games. So now save. So I have all this shit right here. Blah, 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 blah. Now notice I have all these extra games. There's no lines on extra games this early in the week. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Hold on, let's think. I gotta work on resetting this a little bit better. But there's no lines on the extra games early in the week. So what you could do is essentially you can edit and just not include the extra games. This is not. So that's another bug we have to think about. This just got solved, and now it just happened again, where when you're editing a custom tab, the games disappear. So that we just solved that last week, and now it just popped up again. So we got to write these ones down. There's two big bugs: the default bug, the default view bug, and the custom tab bug. Okay. So save. So now I have these here. Now, if I want to, let's just say I don't want to look at certain games, you can highlight games on SpankOdds and then unhighlight games or whatnot. Now, if you want to hide some games, you could just go like this, and then you right-click. You would right-click, I think, on the team or the details. Some of these, not the line history. So you could say hide selected rows. So game 183 to 195, I want to hide the selected rows. I'm going to hide them. Now notice there's a big gray gap there. You know there's hidden games there. If I want to unhide them, I would just say show hidden selected rows. And now they're selected and they're unhidden. If I want to clear selected rows, so just clear them. So there's different things. If I want to just hide one row, 183, boom, hidden. If I want to unhide, no, how do I do this? Hide unselected rows. No, that's not good. Show, I don't even know what the fuck I just did there, boy. Show. Do you know what I just did here?
Yeah, you did it backwards is all you did.
Okay. There's some crazy shit going on. All right, yeah. So there you go. You do what you need to do. I don't, I this is a tool that a lot of my guys use in the office. I don't use it too much, but that's something about selected rows and hiding and unhiding. Um, I think. Oh yeah, the last thing I want to talk about, and this is important for all you anybody. We this is a very important thing. We have this thing called report bad line. What does report bad line do? Did you see that pop up? No, you did not.
For a second, we did.
And then it just doesn't show.
Right. You got to hover back over it again.
Okay,
Yeah, it's not showing up now.
it's not showing up. No
I
problem.
saw it for a second.
We're gonna make it show up. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make it show up by doing that stop screen thing again. Present, share screen, window, because we want to show what this is about. Um, okay, this is the pop up that shows up. Do you see it?
Yeah, it's up now.
Okay, so this will tell us, this is all the information, essentially what it is. You would put, if you want to put your Twitter ID, that's fine. If you say the line is flipped, just check that off, and then put a comment here. Explain what that is. We read all of these. A lot of you guys, you send a lot of these, and thank you. We appreciate this. This helps us get better. Obviously, if the lines are every line is bad at a certain sports book, just say you don't have to send 15 bad line reports. Just tell us every line is bad, including this one. Write it in the comment. This hits all my developed teams. I get a personal email on this. And then we all this becomes on our list to be able to solve. And then if some of you probably have gotten private messages because we're able to send private messages on SpankOdds telling you this issue has been resolved. Sometimes you might not get it and we might resolve it, but keep in mind that we try to let everybody know, keep using this because this is the best way to report a bad line. Bad lines are inevitable. So send us this stuff. And we'll try to get you sorted out. And again, if you see a stale line, do what Scott says with the sleeping thing, but also if you got to do a help reload, do that as well. And then if that doesn't fix it, it's probably going to be an issue. Let us know. Write a comment here, and then click submit, and then we'll be able to go and attend to the matter. Okay, I think anything you want to add to that, Scotty?
Yeah, I want you to do the SpankOdds purchase.
The website.
SpankOdds.
Yes,
Yeah, I
the
want you to go through that because I get a lot of questions about what's included at each level.
Absolutely, no problem. Okay, so we're gonna kill that. We're back to me now, right?
Yep, I can see you.
Okay. Oh, no, that's not what we want. SpankOdds.com. Okay. So now I gotta do another present.
Right?
I'm getting the hang of this shit. All right. Let's talk about it. So, what do we have here in SpankOdds? This is the SpankOdds chart. Real-time scores. As you can see, that's what's happening right here. Line move direction icons. Those are the things that we talked about in columns display setting. I'm pointing at my SpankOdds so you can see it. You can't see that, but anyway, those are the up and down arrows. American and decimal lines we went over. Easy to see previous and opening line. That's those two buttons on top, last and opener. Customizable screen layout. Those are the custom tabs. Customer line change colors and duration. That's when I went from red, blue, black, from red, black, black, red, blue, black, and a duration. Customizer consensus line column. I created a consensus line separate for football and basketball in this demonstration. Customizable chart column. That's something that I didn't go over, but I showed you that there's a video about that we recommend. Notes column. Oh, I didn't go over the notes column. I want to go over that before we end here. So can I get back to that after this, Scotty?
Yeah, that's a real good idea.
Yeah. Customizable line move alerts. That's what we went over the line move. Opener alerts, line seeker alerts. That's when we tried to find the 8.5. Limit change alerts. We went over that. Started, final, halftime alerts. Email, Twitter, customer service. Odds from 60 sportsbooks worldwide. odds history for future games, meaning you can right click and look at the line movement, right click on any line, you see the line movement for that sports book. And a best column showing the best lines. All this stuff is included in the basic. Okay? The only thing with the basic is you're on a 5-minute delay for all the important information, and this is free. So you get everything. Now, here's the hard part. The shitty part about basic is this: storing user preferences between logins. When you go to SpankOdds, remember under File it says Store User Prefs. That is not an option. We do not store your user preferences as a basic member. Oh man, Spank, how come? Well, twofold. Number one, we can't. You're not paying us, and now this is a for-profit business. The basic membership is designed to have people use SpankOdds casually. If you want to store preferences, that's now beyond and what we feel is a casual user. That now is a daily user or a frequent user, and if that's the case, and if you're using this a lot, then you know what? We'd ask you to if consider possibly upgrading. Nah, Spank, I ain't giving you shit. I'm not going to pay you nothing. Okay, that's fine too. But we're not going to store user preferences. Just understand that. That's how it is. No video advertisements. That's another one. Basic members, every hour, you're getting video ads. It's the same 3 video ads that are replaying over and over again. It's randomized. We're going to be adding more video ads. By the time you'll be hearing about Bet Bash and everything, you're going to want to, probably consider putting a gun in your head after looking at this shit so much. This is the idea. We want to help basic members out, but at the same time, as a business, we want to make sure that it's slightly uncomfortable. Now, it's still not unusable because everything is okay. You could set everything up. Everything that I just did, set up all your line alerts, do it once in the morning, and you could use this and you'll be on a 5-minute delay. You could enjoy it. Then you'll have to redo everything else again the next morning. That's fine. If people want to go through that, you could. You'll have a video ad pop up, a couple, 30-second ad every hour. No big deal. You know what I mean? So, again, but we would hope that for those 2 things, you would upgrade to at least the full membership, which is in a 2-minute delay. And we get to store all these things. So the full membership includes that. And then finally, what does the Pro have? The Pro has phone customer service. I'm going to be calling everybody, which is the intro call with Spanky, every Pro member. I'm going to be calling them and I'm going to be giving them our 800 number. And that 800 number will connect directly to my office. And we'll handle your customer service requests that can't be solved with the bad line report, that can't be solved with Twitter. If you really need to get somebody on the phone, we got you. And again, it's going to be certain hours. This isn't a 24-hour shop, but we're going to do our best to accommodate everybody. Odds history for past games. That whole odds history I just showed you with the Giants game last week, that's only for Pro members. Consolidated injury view, that's under the window injuries to be able to see all the NFL injuries instead of pointing at the game. That's only for Pro members. Surprise special offers, they're a surprise, so I can't really talk about those right now. And then, of course, the biggest thing about Pro membership is real-time pre-game odds, in-game odds, prop odds. We didn't talk about props also, but we have prop odds. I want to talk about that. And the injury lineup alerts all in real time. These prices will be going up in 6 days by 20%. So this 99 is going to look like 119. This 990 is going to look like 1190. This 499 is going to look like 599. And that 4990 is going to look like 5990. And that'll go up. However, if you're a current member, you will always have this price as long as you don't break your membership. If you break your membership, then unfortunately you'll have to start. If you want to come back to SpankOdds, you'll have to pay the current pricing. Let me now. That's anything else with that, Scott, or are we good on that?
That's what I needed.
Perfect. Okay, now let's stop the share, and then let's now present again. And we got to talk about 2 more things, and I think we could open it up to one final set of questions. Let's talk about. You see my SpankOdds?
It's up.
Perfect. Okay. Let's talk about notes. Now, notes is something that you could put a note in here. Sometimes people might put a note in here. Look, I make the line 11, or you could say, my 11 minus 11 plus 11. You could say, um, and then you would just put a note. That's what you could put whatever line you make it. Or you could put another note saying, somebody not sure. You can just write whatever you want here. Not sure, or I like dog, Eileen dog, whatever you want to put. That's up to you. And if you put it on one thing, that'll just center, I think. Yeah, Eileen dog. So whatever, that's just a note thing. If you want to add something to put your notes in, specialized notes for this. What was the one last thing we were missing, Scotty?
Well, before we go to that, I want to say this: we have a couple of originators here listening right now, and
Mm-hmm.
one of the questions they've asked me in the past is they'd like to have a notes to column. If you would consider doing that, so they could put their own numbers in one and still have a notes column to put other notes in. Would you consider that?
Yeah, eventually, again, if you could always do that, because if in the notes column there's two lines, so let's just say I make the line 11, and then when I click when I go the next line, I could just say, man, Johnny, who I talk likes dog, um, and then that'll get and then I'll
You're
just flip
you're
it.
exactly right. You could do exactly what you wanted. They were just asking about having an extra note column.
Yeah,
If it
we could eventually we could do that.
eventually, okay,
Again, yeah,
all right,
eventually, but not any time.
not soon. Gotcha.
Yeah, not soon. Okay. All right, and then there was another thing, props. Oh yeah, so props. That's something we forgot to mention. Okay, let's just go to mine. This is NBA, right? Yeah, yeah. See that thing? It gets wiped out when you wanna modify it. But anyway, now let's say include props. Now we're working on this again. It's the second day of the season, so bear with us here. Um, so okay. Um, God, there's so many props on this thing. I don't even know why this is. What my guys did on this. Let me just see if I can manage it over here. Um, NBA include props. Okay. So Atlanta last to score. I don't know why this is not.
You might
Oh,
want to
this
change it to money
that's
line.
right, because it's short team. It's a long team. That's what it was. Well, it should be default view, which should show you everything.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So, uh, yeah. So first to score, last to score. And again, it's not that many shops. We have a couple of shops that have these things hung up. And again, we're working on filling this as the season progresses. Last to score, and then we have again rebound points, rebounds, assists, points and rebounds, points and assists, rebounds and assists, points, rebounds and assists. Let's go to a game that hasn't started yet. What time is it? I think every game went off already. No, no. There's a couple. So there's stuff moving as we speak. DraftKings moving this game right here. DeAndre Ayton, points and rebounds. That just moved. So we have all these different things, all the major players for every team, and we're going through all this. And these things, you can compare all these props on the SpankOdds screen. Again, we're slowly but surely filling a lot of these columns in, and just bear with us as the season has just got underway. We got to make sure all of our feeds are correct, and we want to make sure the game lines were good before the props were loaded up. And that's it. I think I covered everything. I want to open it up to questions now, and we've gone for 2.5 hours almost, right, Scotty?
Yeah, it looks like over 2.5 hours. No, 2 hours 23 minutes. I don't see any new questions because you've taken so many questions during the presentation.
Yeah. Okay. Well, listen. If there's no new questions, hopefully this 2 hour and almost 2.5 hour session kind of explained the power of spank odds. Again, this is a growing project, and we just put the paywall up just a couple of weeks ago. We're very pleased with our results. We want to thank everybody for supporting us and for giving us your business. We exceeded all expectations. We thought we were going to still operate at a loss. We're not. We're profitable and then some. So thank you for that. And that's still. I'm always motivated, but it motivates the team even more when you're profitable to be able to deliver, and make sure that we can help you get profitable. Because just like in any business, if you're going to give us a nickel a month for the pro level, we're hoping you make a lot more than a nickel a month by using SpankOdds. Give us 5 times a year, we hope you make a lot more than that. So we want to be there. And then for the full members, we still show you some love. $100 a month. Thank you for that. Hopefully, you guys can make a lot more than that using the tool. And I want to thank everybody for the support, and thank you for the feedback. We're working hard on this, and we got a great team. I want to thank Scott, who runs the best customer service known to man. He's answering all your questions. He's always quick, efficient, always fast, and he's there to help whenever you guys have a problem, a question. And he has a direct line to myself and my tech team, and it's it's such a pleasure to have you on board, Scott.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
All right. Anything else, Scotty? Or are we good?
Looks like there's no. Hang on a second. We just got a question. Give me a second.
Sure.
Oh, somebody would like us. Looks like Tim wants to talk about head fakes and the peak hours of the most movement on games. You have any thoughts on those?
Well, for U.S. sports, um, you know, believe it or not, things start even as early as 8 a.m. Eastern these days, from what I've been told. But it gets crazy. There's always a break in the middle of the day. Um, you know, for soccer, of course, it's different. We're talking 2, 3 a.m. Eastern. It all depends on the sport. I would, obviously at post, there's always going to be a little bit of a flutter in the morning. Historically, it was 11 a.m. Eastern when Grande opened. Grande is no more now, but when Grande increased their limits, that historically was the time in which the moves would matter a lot. What I always do, Timmy, is I would try to coordinate your analysis with limit changes, because most of the top guys that are betting, they want to make sure that they get down. For college football, limits go up at Chris, I believe historically Thursday at 10 or 10:30 a.m. Eastern. And most of the people are not going to bet big until those limits go up. Historically, again, everything could change, but I would look at limit changes, watch, and then see, monitor line movement. You just try to work every hour, and see what hours you need to work the next day. But in order to determine it for each sport, see what's happening, you got to put the time in to find out what the right hours are. I don't think any major movement is happening, from say 10:30 p.m. Eastern until 8 a.m. Eastern. I think that's a time in which you could, there's not much going on, but it's all open and fair game, and it all depends on the limits, in my opinion.
That sounds really good to me. I think with that, we should probably end this. We really do appreciate you explaining everything, Spanky. I think the presentation went very, very well.
Thank you all, and I appreciate it, and thanks for going through. There's again, you see them. There's still bugs in the system. We're going to get to them, and thanks for the support. Really appreciate it, guys.
Thank you, and you guys have a good night.